Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the gentleman from Texas for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as I may consume. Madam Speaker, yesterday, the Republican Party released their new platform, and I heard Republican pundits saying that this platform was going to be more moderate. I saw reporters even claiming that Republicans are softening their radical extreme views on abortion and on same-sex marriage. I even saw one Republican senator on TV yesterday defending the platform and trying to spin it to make Trump sound like a normal, rational, moderate person, which is an impossibility, by the way. Then I actually read the platform, and it's more of the same old, more of the same fear-mongering and divisive politics that they've been pushing for years now. They're not kicking MAGA extremism aside, they're doubling down on it. Talk is cheap around here. Look at their legislation. Look at the bills before us this week. If someone looks at these bills and thinks the Republican Party is normal or rational or moderate, I think they need to get checked out because they're living in a fantasy world. These bills are getting crazier and crazier the longer they're in charge. Here's the Republican agenda for this week. More attacks on the LGBTQ community, more attacks on immigrants, more attacks on voting rights because they know they can only win if fewer people vote, and more attacks on working families and more giveaways to special interests and billionaire companies. There's nothing new here, just more division, more destruction, more disarray. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Project 2025 lately, the Republican plan to dismantle the government, get revenge on their political adversaries, weaponize the White House, and install Trump as a dictator. The former president recently made a laughable attempt to try to distance himself from its extremism, and what do you know? Now Project 2025 is right here on the House floor because it's what Republicans actually believe. That's what this SAVE Act is about. It is a voter suppression bill that lays the groundwork for them to undermine the next election so they can justify another January 6th style attempt to seize power even if they lose. They'll use this gotcha bill to say Democrats want to give non-citizens the ability to vote in federal elections. Let me say now, that is a lie. It is a total lie. It is a lie that Democrats are against preventing non-citizens from voting in federal elections. That is already illegal. What we are against is making it harder for American citizens to vote. And that's what this bill does. Republicans in this bill want to require all this new documentation for an individual just to register to vote. They say, well, you can use your passport. Well, what about someone who can't afford a $130 passport? What about someone who doesn't have the time to take a day off from work to get their birth certificate? What about someone who recently got married and changed their name so their birth certificate doesn't match their ID? The Republican answer here is, too bad. You can't vote. They are going to disenfranchise millions and millions of people in response to what we know is maybe been a couple of dozen cases of voter fraud over the last 2 decades. But this isn't about voter fraud. Let's be clear. This is not about voter fraud. It's about them trying to cheat in the next election. It's paving the way again for another violent insurrection if their candidate does not succeed. And, and I should say, Madam Speaker, the key witness in the House Administration Committee on behalf of this bill is one of the architects of Project 2025. I mean, they're all linked. And let me throw one other thing out there for members to digest. The chairman of the House Administration Committee, the Republican chairman of the House Administration Committee, I asked him point blank whether Trump lost the election. He couldn't give me a direct answer. What the hell is wrong with these people? I mean, they are so detached from reality. They are so oblivious to the truth. This is dangerous stuff. This is dangerous stuff. And then another Project 2025 priority more giveaways for polluters, and attempts to dismantle the entire federal government's effort to protect the environment. You know, it's shocking, actually. They want to take freedom away from women. They want to take freedom away from the LGBTQ plus community. They want to take freedom away from families who want to use IVF. But freedom for fridges? Sign them up. They want freedom for refrigerators and dignity for dishwashers while they take away rights from actual people. It is sick. And for the record, if somebody wants to keep their 50-year-old refrigerator, go for it. This bill has nothing to do with that. This bill gives billion-dollar companies the ability to cut corners when they make appliances. I guess nothing says freedom to Republicans quite like forcing their constituents to pay more on their electric bills. Republicans don't want to talk about how extreme they are. I mean, the bottom line is we should want companies to make appliances more efficient. Why? Because it saves consumers more money. The only reason to be against that is to help the big energy companies so they can charge consumers even more. My Republican friends don't want to talk about how they want to ban abortion nationwide and take away the right to choose in every state. They don't want to talk about how their own members want to ban IVF. They don't want to talk about their obsession with attacking the LGBTQI plus community. They want to turn the clock back on voting rights. And the legislation that we are seeing on the floor today is just more of the same. And while Republicans desert the American people in service to Donald Trump, Democrats will remain committed to doing our job, lowering the cost of living, standing up to the special interests and big corporations, protecting the right to vote, and defending the freedom of our constituents. We are proud to stand on the side of democracy, on the side of the American people, and on the right side of history. And with that, Madam Speaker, this is just an awful, awful rule. I'll say more about that later. I urge a strong no, and I reserve my time.
The House will be in order.